Hi, I'm Tara Lynne of Geek Saga Entertainment, and welcome to Drinkin' The Hangover, a post-Dragon Con webcast where we talk about what we did, what we missed, and how we felt overall about Dragon Con 2025. Today, I'm joined by the rest of the Drinkin' 2025 crew, longtime Drinkin' co-host Ashley, my regular podcast co-host Manny, and our special 2025 guest Daniel. So go ahead and reintroduce yourselves, remind people where they can find you online, and do not forget to tell us what you're drinking.
Yes, so I'm Manny. I am the co-host. You can find me on Instagram at ManySimoArt and Facebook at ManySimoArt. I'm drinking only the best, youngling. If you're going to have a suitcase full of beer, you got to make it fit, right? So...
Ashley, I've decided that Friday is the new Monday, so we're still at Dragon Con. You can find me at Podcast of Ice and Fire. We're kind of on hiatus, but as soon as that book comes out, any day now, I'll be back at it.
It's on Kingdoms of Shadow.
But yeah, I don't do much online other than that. I have my leftover White Claws. There's not very many of them, so I'm starting off with a Gin and Campari.
Oh, fancy.
I'm Daniel. Pretty much if you want to find me online, I run the Dragon Con Cocktails group, and I helped start the Dragon Con Cult of Rum shortly before Dragon Con this year. So we didn't do a whole lot, but if you like rum and Dragon Con, you'll probably see us doing some things. I'm doing a modified bartender's handshake, root beer, and Fernet.
Well, like I said, I am Tara Lynne. You can find me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at a Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. I have a mixture, a hodgepodge, if you will, of Dragon Con leftovers. I am starting with my final espresso martini in a can. I love these things at Dragon Con. Not something I would necessarily drink at home, but at Dragon Con, they're great to dump into like your morning's coffee that you didn't finish, throw some ice on it. And yeah, after that, I'm going to switch to a vodka soda. And then once the vodka soda's gone, I have a single White Claw. And then I've got some leftover Daycation beers in case I get that far. But the pre-Dragon Con webcast was a little bit messy, so I'm trying not to make it that tonight. Real quick, just a couple other house cleaning items before we dig in. If you're watching this as a webcast on Facebook or YouTube, pretty please make sure to hit those like and or subscribe buttons. And if you're catching the audio only version on your favorite podcatcher, we could really use some more ratings, especially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and would super very much greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to mark the Geek Saga podcast 5 stars wherever you're listening. And last but hopefully not least, we hope that you'll check out the Geek Saga Entertainment Patreon. We have a lot of tiers with just $3 per month getting you the most prevalent perk of early access to podcast episodes, and that is going to include recordings I have of hopefully 6 of my 7 Dragon Con panels coming out kind of spaced over the next couple months. So, well, let's get into the drinking game rules. We drink whenever any of the following happens or is mentioned: legacy hotel rooms, sky bridges, any of the cults are mentioned, but just the first time. And yes, this includes new cults if we talk about anything like that. A specific party is mentioned, but again, just the first time, like Bunny Hutch. I don't even know if they had heroes and villains this year, but Zombie Prom, I think, is another one. I haven't been to a party in a long time, honestly, because I'm always in panels late at night somehow. And then when there is an animal-related interruption, most likely it looks like be Daniel again this time. So Daniel, we thank you for your cat, or actually we thank your cat for their service, honestly.
He settled down, so he should be good for a while.
And then we each have a specific thing that we drink for. So Manny, what is your 1 or 2 things that people should drink for when you talk about it?
It's really just one thing, and it's going to be a surprise. It's going to be a little bit different than I normally talk about, but it's going to be people's lack of spatial awareness. Okay, I know I've never mentioned that before at all, but that's what it's going to be.
All right, Ashley, what about you?
What was the question? I was thinking about my cat when you mentioned pet interruptions.
Does that count as a pet interruption? Honestly, what is your 1 or 2 things that we should drink for when you mention them?
Still Final Fantasy 14 in particular. Maybe photo shoots if you really want to drink a lot.
Pound down on it. Yeah. We can stick with just Final Fantasy. I think this is the Hangover episode after all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, what about you?
If I mention like a specific panel, because that's what I spend most of my time doing. And then if I bring up anything Dragon Con cocktail related.
I feel like we need to narrow it down to just one of those, but
then we'll just do the cocktails.
Again, if this was pre-Dragon Con, I would say let's go for it, but it's not. It is the Hangover episode. I am actually feeling pretty good. I didn't get sick this year. None of you guys got sick, which is why we're actually doing this or able to do it a week earlier than we usually do.
This is the first time since before COVID that I haven't gotten sick after con. Although I do think there's a reason for that, which we'll get into later, but unrelated to any of you guys. But yeah, I'm just in shock because usually you got to take the week off after Dragon Con too, because I know I'm going to be bedridden.
I've gotten sick twice, not in 2021, and I can't remember what years it was. So like 22, 23, 24, of those 3 years, I got sick twice. I can't remember which years it was, but one of them, I actually might have not even gotten sick from Dragon Con because I got home and my stepkid had COVID and I didn't get sick until like 4 days after I got home. So I think it might have been him and not Dragon Con, but it still counted as after Dragon Con. It was miserable. Anyway, first we're going to talk about what happened in Dragon Con news after Drinkin Con version 9.0, our pre-Dragon Con webcast. There's just a couple things here, and most of them are kind of like what happened right when I arrived at the convention or right when we arrived at the convention. The official Dragon Con page released phone backgrounds that you could download, like you'd save to your phone, put it as your phone background with fun Dragon Con graphics and a notice in the graphic that said, if found, return to whatever the main Dragon Con lost and found location is, which I found to be a really neat idea because yes, there's tons of other people in Atlanta. Yes, somebody might pick up a lost phone and just take it, but I would hazard a guess that most Dragon Con attendees, if they find a lost phone, are going to want to find its owner. So I thought it was a good idea. Like if you're someone who's prone to losing your phone and not like attached to it the way, say, I am, it was a good idea, I thought, to have this as something that somebody could put on their phone background and hope that it's a kind, either Dragon Con attendee or even just stranger from Atlanta who finds it and is willing to bring it to that lost and found location that was listed on it. And then I arrived at the Hyatt to find that it was sort of scary movie themed. It wasn't all out like the Hilton goes, but they were trying. They were trying. So I have hopes for next year. Like they had a board where people could put notes with their favorite scary movies on it. And they had some little signs. I actually picked up a couple pins when I checked in that were like Hyatt scary movie themed. So I thought that was neat. And then Daniel, you also arrived at your hotel to find that it had a theme.
Yeah, the Westin fully embraced the Westin waterfall earlier in the summer, I think maybe in May. Best I can tell, there was like a water main break or a pipe burst in the garage and like water was just spilling out over the side of the Westin. So yeah, so they had like little decals on the floor. They got a little Westin waterfall pin, and then like the check-in flyer was about your stay at the Westin waterfalls.
We also have someone in the chat saying that the Cortland tried to do a theme as well. It was minimal. Can't believe I actually just said the word Cortland out of my mouth. General at Dragon Con stuff. We got a bunch of stuff that we talk about in this section. It's a mix of good and bad. So everybody bear with us, please. I do try to like mix it up a bit so that we're not just complaining for a long time. But anybody else love the secret food court being open all weekend? Because I certainly did. I ate there for breakfast Saturday, late lunch Sunday, and breakfast Monday, as well as getting Dunkin' on Thursday and Friday, maybe? I can't remember. I think Thursday and Friday. But yeah, it was awesome. Dunkin' was closed kind of early. It was closed Monday for sure. Like they didn't open on Labor Day at all, which that's fine, whatever. But I went there at like 3:00 on Sunday and they were already closed, which was kind of disappointing because I really could have used a coffee, but the line for Flaky Not Flaky, because they have coffee too, was like way too long at that time because I had to get to a panel. But I don't know. I also just love that they totally embraced calling themselves the secret food court, or someone did anyway, but I'm pretty sure it was them because like, even though it totally negates them being secret when there are signs in the Sky Bridge saying secret food court this way. I loved it. It's so very Dragon Con. And I hope they're open again next year because that was awesome.
Truist Plaza was making posts about it, the secret food court, before they made a post on the official group thanking everybody for coming out. I think in one of the comments they talked about that they're looking at being open even longer hours next year.
I want to say they were open to what, 7 or 8 p.m.?
They were open till 8. They can get till 10 because I would really like that late Flaky Not Flaky hit.
They might regret their choices if they start getting the late night drunk crowd.
Yeah.
10 is kind of like on the cusp of like when it could possibly be really bad. But I think I have my Flaky Not Flaky shout out later. But just I really loved that. And I love that they're embracing them being called the secret food court. As if like they don't exist and haven't existed for a million years. But Next, I want to talk about vertical-ish transportation. I got some good and some bad here. Elevators and escalators. The Hilton elevator operator situation continues to work. I heard that it worked last year. Like when I first heard they were doing it last year, I was like, oh, this is not going to work. But then people were saying it did. This year, I actually experienced it myself, so I can personally attest that it was actually pretty great. I was frustrated when I saw the line that wrapped around maybe like the elevator side benches, couches, things. Like it was wrapped around them. But I want to say we waited maybe 5 minutes. And also there were no worries about pushing or shoving or getting separated from your group. Plus, as someone who is claustrophobic, it was great not to be like packed in like a sardine. I mean, there were a good number of people in the elevator, but it wasn't that crammed feeling where you're like wondering if it's not safe, even if you aren't claustrophobic. And also, like, for real, I would have hiked the stairs if we'd been going to like the 10th floor and not the 18th or something. But still, I thought it worked really well. And I was like, wow, yeah, people were right last year. This is great.
I will say this, for someone who stayed at the Hilton quite a few times, I wish they would have had this when I was there, because we stayed in one of the rooms that was on the 23rd floor. And every time I went to the room, I walked all the way up those stairs and all the way back down again, because that was an absolute nightmare. It's like you said, these people pack you in like sardines. They try, everyone's pushing and shoving, and then you get that one asshole who's trying to jump up and down. I pushed one of the guys out of the elevator one time when I was in there, and there was a bunch of people, and he started doing that. And I'm already claustrophobic, and I hate elevators. And this guy started doing that because he was being drunk. And as soon as those doors opened on the floor that he was not getting off, I was like, bye. I'm not dealing with that, man. So getting to see that, they really kind of took initiative. My hat's really off to the Hilton, because I spent the most time there to begin with. Back in the day, you remember, it was like the Marriott. That was the place to be. But now the Hilton is up to their game so much that I'm like, dude, that's like the mainstay for me. That's where I go. That's where I hang out. They've done it great. And to get to see the elevator situation that they did that, fantastic. Even whether it works or whether it doesn't, because I don't know, but it's just really cool.
I mean, it did. I think
efforts. Yeah.
I think it did.
I did read one post, someone saying that it made it harder, but that was one person. I don't know if they went at a bad time, but like,
I heard
before when I was trying to get to parties up on the Hilton back when they had photo shoots up there. I remember.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think the highest floor I ever stayed in the Hyatt was the 8th. And that was a long time ago. But then I was on the 6th for a couple years, and I hiked, unless I was in heels, which I don't even wear anymore, but unless I was in heels, I hiked that every single time, up and down. I don't think they could institute the line thing at the Marriott just because of the design of the elevator banks, like where they are in the hotel. But I think they could absolutely make it work in the Hyatt, because it's not like you have people checking in and out. So like you've got that huge lobby area where people also don't stand around for pictures, like the tunnel that goes to the International Tower and everything. Like there's space, I think, there for them to implement something like that. And I wish they would, especially because they had a lot of issues this year with their vertical-ish transportation. So DragonCon vertical transportation disasters, the 2025 edition, because I was talking about Hyatt elevators. One of the Hyatt elevators stopped working at some point. I don't know if it was late Saturday night or early Sunday morning. I walked out of the room, I think to go to the con suite or something, Sunday morning, because I had a 1 o'clock panel. So it would have been well before 1 o'clock. And the elevator, it was one of the ones that's like directly across from our hallway, and it was stuck kind of, I don't know if it was at the 2nd or at the 3rd floor or in between, but it was broken. It stayed there when I left at like 5 p.m. on Monday. It was still just stuck in that same spot. So it was broken from like late Saturday night, early Sunday morning till when I left. I'm guessing they didn't fix it till after the con. That would have been a freaking nightmare if it had happened earlier in the weekend, especially because they had the Polaris elevator all freaking weekend, because usually they open that elevator up, I think, to like the general populace, but because Polaris was open all weekend, they didn't, I don't think. At least I saw the Polaris booth there blocking it all weekend. So fun. And then the escalators, Ashley, you also mentioned these.
There was one in the Hilton and one in the Hyatt. The Hyatt one was the one that was causing like huge lineups around, and people are trying to get to the stairwell and trying to get, it was traffic jam like crazy. I was like, we should go outside.
Yeah. Well, and like they didn't open up that stairwell. The stairwell is off in the corner and on the ballroom level of the Hyatt. They didn't open that up until, I don't even know, like Saturday morning or maybe late Friday, so that you could come down it. But if you didn't hit somebody coming out when you were trying to go up, they hadn't locked the pushy thing open yet.
See, so I was going to say, this is the first year I realized, so you when you took us all the way down, I'm just like, magic.
Yes. That ballroom level to lobby escalator, the up escalator from the ballroom level to the lobby, was broken down at least twice over the weekend. And by this, I mean it was broken, then it was working again, then I saw it broken again, which was the same situation with the lobby to atrium level escalator at the Marriott.
Marriott, that was the other one.
Yeah, which was also broken down 2 separate times during the weekend. And that one was terrible too, because then like there are probably stairs, the hidden, stairs behind the, fire stairs.
In the back. I don't know how far down they go though.
Well, there's stairs and escalators in the back. The problem is like they're all the way at the back. So like if you're trying to get up to the front of the atrium level from the lobby level, it's miserable because you have to like fight the crowds past like Starbucks. And then also those stairs that I, for years, have been going up and down between lobby and atrium level at the Marriott with like never a crowd, never anybody on them hardly. This year, they were just packed all the time because the escalator kept breaking down. And I was like, no, this is my like secret staircase. I mean, it's not secret, but nobody ever used it. They were always using the escalators. So that was frustrating.
And they replaced the Marriott escalators this year. Like those main ones going.
Oh shit!
They replaced them all back in the spring, and so when I saw the pictures floating around on Facebook of the escalator being out of the Marriott, I'm just like, I hope they kept their receipt.
Or their test run.
Yeah, which is a bad.
Like when they put in the new carpet just before DragonCon.
Yeah,
it's like, really, guys.
Okay, so let's get some other DragonCon quote unquote disasters out of the way. Did anybody notice any badge issues? I have badge and security issues lumped under one thing, but I'm separating them for good reason.
Worse Thursday than it usually is, but I think that's just more the fact that more people are showing up on Thursday. I think it's just a volume thing, and it's not anything they were doing differently or wrong. I think it's just most people are like, get the badges on Thursday now.
Yeah, the one thing is when you get to the corner where the Cortland is, there wasn't anybody directing traffic, so some people were going this way and some people were going that way, and then they were merging on the far side of the Cortland. From what I could tell, that was only going on for like maybe an hour or hour and a half early on Thursday afternoon, and then after that, it seemed like it was they were able to get a volunteer out there, and it was back to like the 40-minute run time through the line.
Yeah, I showed up on Friday, I think at like between 3 and 4 o'clock, and I walked right up to the front. Honestly, there was no line, there was nothing. It was almost completely empty. There was literally like one person in front. I mean, there was people still there, but it wasn't more than maybe 20 people. I was behind one person for probably about 10 seconds, and they were like, oh yeah, go to that line. So I was in and out, but that was kind of my experience last year also.
The thing is though, what I did notice is they're checking badges for the hotels on Thursday nights now, which if you
they were rabid
don't get your
about
badge, technically doesn't start till Friday, technically.
Yeah, date-wise it doesn't, but like they have events on Thursday. So to an extent, I understand it. But I remember in 2021, Dean and Nami didn't get their badges till Friday morning because they got in, I don't think they got in like late. I think we were actually all there on Wednesday, but like we all got busy on Thursday and the lineup was really bad because they had fewer people working because it was like right post-COVID and everything. So they're like, well, we'll just wait till Friday morning, which by the way, that year, Dean like walked right in and got the badges on Friday morning, no problem. But they tried not to let Dean and Nami into the Hilton. And Dean was like, no, the con hasn't started yet. I'm coming into the Hilton. And they were like, ugh, fine, whatever. But this year they were checking them everywhere on Thursday night, which is weird because they didn't do that the rest of the weekend, but they were checking them at either end of the Sky Bridge. It was like too much almost. I don't know. Like it just felt like people are still checking in on Thursday. Like what if you're driving in from far away?
I don't mind them doing the security thing. They have,
right.
We've had issues with people getting in the con that shouldn't be there, but they do have to account that people are arriving Thursday and some of them are arriving late.
Yeah, exactly. And
I get the okay, you have a hotel key for your hotel. Maybe if you have a hotel key, period, you should be able to get into any of the 5 hotels. If you're in one of the host, or you know what, that discludes the people, the peasants in the hotels. I shouldn't say that. So yeah, there's got to be something.
The pores.
Oh, those non-legacy hotel room holders. What would we ever do about them? Oh man, I haven't used that accent in a while. Actually, drink for that, guys.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good.
Bringing back the old legacy hotel room accent.
Maybe just any hotel key. I don't know. They got to do something to let people who are coming in late.
The rest of the weekend, it was like they were way more rabid about it Thursday night than they really were the rest of the weekend. The poor person that was sitting there checking them for people entering like from the secret food court, like if you had gone into the secret food court and then you were coming out, was very easy to skirt by during busy times. Not that I tried, but I saw other people doing it. Like I always just have my badge out. This is their first year doing it on the weekend. And when it was really busy, it's not a good area for them to be able to check everybody. And people can, I think, get in from outside. So you could technically probably sneak by that person, and they weren't checking them on either end of the Skybridge, like right into the Marriott or right into the Hyatt. So again, I'm not like saying anything bad about that person or whatever. It was just an odd place to be trying to check badges, especially when they're not doing it. Like really, they shouldn't have had somebody there. They should have just had people at either end of the Skybridge, if you ask me. But also that causes traffic jams, which there were plenty of during the weekend. But yeah, they were like really hardcore about checking them for anyone entering the hotels from outside, which I did probably 90% of the time, avoided taking the Skybridges and just, I keep saying Skybridges. Sorry guys, let's drink at least once for Skybridges. They were really, really strict about checking them for people going in from the front doors, essentially. So that was, I mean, that's good at least.
I did read some people being like, oh, this is the worst lineups in 20 years. I haven't seen them. It's like, I've only been going for like 12 years. And believe me, 8 years ago, the lineup was twice as long. You guys have, I don't know if you're lying about when you were here or what's going on, because I mean, even when you picked up your badge, it's been in maybe the past 4 or 5 years, you start getting back 6, 7, 8 years.
Okay, so security stuff. I want to get this out of the way because like this is where I'm going to stick with the awful stories I've heard about physical assault and sexual harassment at the raves and try not to get into too much else and not talk about it for too long. I want to preface this by saying I am not saying that this is Dragon Con's fault at all, but these issues seemed especially rampant this year. And I really hope the con finds some way to address them next year because there was somebody I saw who got punched at the rave. I'm not sure what night. Basically, a guy tried hitting on her and she was like, no. I think she said she was trying to leave the rave and it was kind of crowded by the door. Maybe she was dancing in a crowd or whatever and she got punched. And one of her friends, I believe, saw the person who hit her and was like, it was absolutely the guy who you like just said no to. Now, granted, I believe she got punched. Obviously, I do believe that this happened. In the dark raves, I can understand where the person could be like, I'm pretty sure it was him and maybe it wasn't. But at the same time, like it seemed like it was an on purpose thing, not just like we're dancing hard and I'm elbowing you. We're mosh pitting and you get hit. It was absolutely like an on purpose thing from what she said. I absolutely believe that for sure. The worst part is like, is it worse if it was some random just punching people or like or was this guy who like was hitting on her and she was like no to? Either way, ew. Then I was at the rave Sunday night and we went up to say hi to some friends. And when we went up to say hi to them, they were like, hey, sorry, we're kind of dealing with some shit right now because they caught some dude trying to take photos up the skirts of the girls that were with them. Security had been called over and everything because they had hit the phone out of the guy's hand or something. I'm pretty sure what it sounded like was that they caught this guy filming up these girls' skirts or filming these girls' asses, from underneath, and someone knocked the phone out of his hand and he went and called security on them. That's what it sounded like to me. Now, it was late, I was drunk, it was loud. Either way, whether this guy was an idiot who was filming up people's skirts and he called security on them for hitting his phone out of his hand, or whether they just called security because they caught this guy doing it. But then I also saw a story on Reddit where this girl was saying like she basically had to abandon the rave because some guy was like following her around and was like all up in her business, like trying to lick her and stuff and like would not leave her alone. And she rightfully so like freaked out and like ran to the bathrooms, to the women's bathroom, and then like snuck out and went back to her room or whatever because she was afraid to go back in and have him approach her again. This is just like 3 stories, one of which I half witnessed because I was there when my friends went to say hi to them and they had just called security or had security calling them or whatever. And then the story from Reddit, and the girl who got punched was also in that same thread on Reddit where the girl was telling her story about this guy like licking her and shit. It's just a lot to hear accounts like that all at once. And I don't know what Dragon Con can really do. My thought was, at least for the raves, to make everyone attending the raves wear their badge around their neck or pinned to the front of their shirt. No exceptions. If you are in the rave, you have to have your badge in front of you at all times. This would rely on security actually patrolling and probably also on attendees immediately reporting someone who doesn't have a visible badge. It's not by any means a great solution, especially as I know that maybe many people wouldn't want to have to do that. I wouldn't want to have to wear my badge around my neck at a rave, but if that was the rule, I'd fucking do it because it's so dark, so loud, and you can find places where there's not a lot of people because the room is so huge. But if you get into those crowds, I don't know. I just, that's the only solution I can think of. I'm not saying it's a great one or Dragon Con should listen to me, but I think that it should at least be attempted. Something should be attempted because this is ridiculous.
Like the only thing I can think of is more security at the raves. Again, I don't know. Maybe they already do have bumped up security for the raves because it does seem that's the specific time. I've had an incident with myself many years ago, and when we got security, they came right away and they took my statement and tried to find the person involved.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that's
like, I've never had an issue with the con brushing it off, but it's just, what can you do when it's a crowd of thousands and thousands of people and they're back in the crowd?
Right. The other thing is too, even if it wasn't that crowded, it's dark. You don't necessarily know what the person looks like, but like if they're wearing their badge around their neck, one glance shows you their name.
That's the one party at Dragon Con that I've always seen the weirdest stuff at, because it's literally like the last party. And anyone who is not hooked up with someone at that point is out there like a shark. And you have to be like super careful, because I have seen like weird stuff and weird people that I've had to kind of like pull aside and be like, bro, you need to fucking chill out. That's like their last, these people that clearly have no charm. They don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to like anything. Like they just think they're just going to be grinding up on some girls randomly and stuff like that and try to get their like thing on. That's the place it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen at all the raves, because let's face it, raves have always been, ever since the creation of raves, that concept of spatial awareness doesn't exist. But in this instance, you have these people, man, and it's like, and this is the last one of the weekend. So that's where any weirdos and weird attempts are going to happen, is going to be at that.
I also want to add, I really wish that they would change the way the badge is set up. They let us have a nickname. Can you please put our real names on the back of the badges? There are people, I don't want them knowing my real name. But so many of us are involved in fandom and have online presences that I don't want you knowing my full name, because there are people out there, bad people.
But also the reason they do it and the reason it's on the front is for security.
But I mean, if they have the nickname and the nickname is tied to the real name, then, you know, knowing the nickname should be enough to tie it to the real name.
I think if you go to the booth when you pick up your badge, I think that they can remove the name. I know, like for trans attendees, they have to maybe put their legal dead name on there that they don't want. So I think that if you go to that booth, and I think that it could be open to anybody. It's just that one of those things, you just have to pick up your badge and go over there. I might be wrong, but I think that there are people in line.
I mean, that would be great if that is a service available. All my years, I've never heard of it. So they need to educate people on it being there if that is a situation, because I know a lot of people who do not want their legal name to be just seen by anyone.
Yeah, I think that they started doing it specifically for trans attendees fairly recently, like within the last 4 years.
Couple years, yeah.
Yeah. Other meh stuff. Speaking of parties, I believe the Bunny Hutch was in the Marriott.
That was my biggest complaint. Oh my God. I remember coming back to the room and being like, Tara, you wouldn't believe what they're doing.
But I believe it was there last year too. However, I don't remember the crowds on the atrium level being as hellish last year, Thursday night, as they were this year. Like, could not even move. I pretty much turned around and went right back to the Hyatt until much later when things had calmed down some. Maybe they did the lineup for the party differently. I don't know, but either way, it was a fucking mess. You could not move. You could not stop people for pictures.
Having the Bunny Hutch on the same floor as the Pulse Bar, it's not a good idea. Just that lineup it's too big, because the crowds are overlapping, and it's just, you know, put it back in the Hilton. Wonder why are the ballrooms smaller in the Hilton or something? Like what?
They might be. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the atrium ballroom is the largest ballroom at the con by like a couple hundred people.
I don't know if there's a way they can change their lineup style, but I mean, it's just real bad that night.
Bad. We ended up just hanging out in High Velocity drinking beers because we were like, oh, well, at least it's like a place where we can talk, sit, but even beyond that, just not be constantly having people shoving you around, because that's how it was.
Thursday just felt like way more crowded in general than any other Thursday that I have been to.
I will agree with that.
But yeah, no, it was a disaster. Our cocktail group does like a lobby crawl through all of the big four hotels, and trying to get from like the Hyatt to the spot in the Marriott was just a total cluster. Like there was no room to move at all on the atrium level.
And it didn't help that the final thing that I wanted to talk about here, it didn't help that they still had the oddly placed concession stands.
Yeah.
The Monk's Meadery one I was okay with this year. I don't know what they were doing differently with it, but it didn't
seem bad. The only time it was really an issue was during the bunny hutch because the lineup was butting up right next to it.
Yeah. But the other one, the food one that they have that like kind of behind the Pulse bar and like along the edge there, put that somewhere else. I don't know where, but somewhere else. For fuck's
they
sake.
have a food place just down the stairs too. Why do you need another one?
So that's the one that I want to kill, like the one down on the marquee level. Yeah, because it just takes up so much space, like right there in the middle of the floor.
It's mostly that it's like kind of at the base of the stairs, and it's just please just find better place. There's more room. I know there is. There's got to be somewhere better to put this. I don't know. Somewhere, please. Just not. I don't really go down to the marquee level all that much, so that one doesn't bother me so much. I do understand why it bothers people, though, because I agree it's in a really odd, awkward place. But the one on the atrium level is just, get the fuck rid of that. Last year was the first year they did it. It doesn't need to be there, I don't think. Put it outside, for Christ's sake. Like the Hyatt has theirs outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
Find a place. We've been talking about meh stuff for the better part of this 40 minutes.
I did see a medical emergency. I don't know where that will fit in with everything going on.
You might as well talk about it now because you mentioned it. What happened?
At the Pulse bar, a man fainted backwards and cracked his head on a table. I hope he's all right because it looked bad. It looked like,
But it sounded like they had people there like immediately.
They got people there fairly quickly. Careful, people. Just drink too much, or I don't know if it was a medication thing because they fainted, but just be careful.
Yeah, it might not have been alcohol or drugs at all. I mean, and when I say drugs, I mean like not prescription medication. It could have been they didn't eat enough that day. They didn't drink enough water and got overheated. Guys, well, it wasn't hot outside really, but it got hot inside. Like hydrate, and make sure you eat. Okay, so let's get into the good Dragon Con being Dragon Con stuff. I'm going to go back to my main thing I want to talk about here, but people kept trying to make new cults happen, but it seems they didn't really for this year. Like there weren't any really, I know Daniel, you mentioned like the rum cult, but there weren't any big new wow cults, even though people kept trying to make them happen. They need to happen organically, which we've been saying for years and years. They need to happen organically.
You can't make fetch happen.
Yeah, exactly. But Daniel, what was yours? The rum one that you talked about?
It's the rum cult of Dragon Con. It's tongue in cheek because a whole bunch of us were making rum themed badge ribbons. And so it's not like a real cult. Sort of like the cult of misconnections is mostly like a meme group or the misconnection thing. I saw a couple of people try to start cults. They were so banal, I can't even remember what they are a week later. So...
Yeah, I didn't notice anything take off. Even like the cannon from last year had more staying power than anything I've seen from this year.
Yeah, the cult of the cannon in the hall. Did anybody see the cannon this year?
I saw pictures of it online.
So was it at the con this year?
I think so. I think someone like posted a picture of seeing it in line for something. But yeah, again, it was something that kind of just happened last year and fizzled out really because it was it was just a problem in the hallway.
Were people still talking about the cult of misconnect? I think the cult of misconnections is here to stay, but were people still talking about it during convention? Because I know they made jokes about it in the app, and I've seen actually a couple of misconnection posts on the subreddit.
It's primarily an online cult.
They had a meetup in the Marriott. It wasn't the most organized thing from what I could tell, and a lot of people missed it in the groups, which I think is sort of on brand. So... But like that was the most like legitimate culty thing that's popped up in probably the last couple of years. Like it'll be around, but like it's not going to be like the carpet cult or the cult of John.
Yeah, I agree. Badge ribbon madness continues.
Actually, not as bad this year. Last year, like I think people got a little burnt out last year and scaled it back a bit.
I mean,
just my observation at photo shoots, I was getting a lot less ribbons this year.
Even if they didn't, like, I will say that last year people kept trying to force ribbons on me, which I don't like being handed things. Okay, not by strangers, especially. So this year, only once was a ribbon kind of forced on me, and it was when I was cosplaying Sookie from True Blood, and I had a waitress tray and it was placed on my tray. So I didn't feel like I could, because I would have had to like pick it up and like give it back to them, and that seems extra. But also, like, if more people had placed them on my tray, it's still kind of being forced on me, but it doesn't bother me so much as somebody. There is a cat crawling all around. Drink for Daniel's cat being an acrobat on the back of his couch. But yeah, I can deal with it being put on like my waitress tray. But I don't like people just handing me things, like coming up and be like, put this in my hand. Daniel, when I went to meet you guys for the bar crawl on Thursday night briefly, somebody was handing business cards. It wasn't ribbons, but it was business cards. And I was like, I want to just throw this on the ground. Like, I'm not going to do it because that's littering. Don't hand me things. things. Like, unless it's a cool thing and you're like, hey, do you want this swag? That's different.
But like, if you're just like, if you've taken a photo and you want to be, for them, that's like the only time I've done like the business card thing.
Was that somebody at the meetup or like somebody that was?
No, it wasn't. No, it was not at the meetup. No, they just came over to our group and were handing their, it wasn't even, I don't think it was even necessarily business. It was like a band flyer, but it was like more business card sized. I don't know. Whatever. I hate being handed things. So only one person kind of forced a ribbon on me. But again, it was placed on my waitress tray. So it wasn't that big of a deal. I felt like last year people were really obnoxiously being like, take my ribbon or else. And I didn't feel that way this year.
I think that because the Loyal Order of the Ribbon, which is like the big ribbon group, they announced back in the spring that they weren't going to do like the badge beard competition. I felt like the ribbons were getting a little too aggressive, both in giving and taking. And I think a lot of it was driven by, I want to have 50,000 ribbons that I could fling 8 stories over and prove that I have the biggest badge beard. And so I think the fact that they sort of like, no, you know what, we're doing away with that. We'll still have people come and show off, but like, we're not going to win a contest. I think really sort of de-escalated a lot of the aggression in the ribbon community, because it was a much more pleasant experience. I didn't have anybody when I was giving out ribbons demand more. Like, oh, can I get like 5? No, you only need 1.
As long as you're not forcing it on people. I'm a photo shoot ribbon person. I go in costume to photo shoots to get the ribbons for that fandom.
I just like that it's still there. You can get them if you want them, but it's not Saturday night when Daniel met me on the Hyatt smoking deck. When I found Keith, Ashley, I went outside to vape for a minute and Keith is just sitting there. I was like, what are you doing? He said, waifu is in bed. So I just came to hang out. And I was like, all right, I'll hang out with you. So Keith and I just sat there hanging out. And Daniel was around. He came out with us for a little bit. We're all drinking. Like, people were coming in and out, and we were trading ribbons out there a little bit. And mostly I was just giving ribbons, but I did see Daniel shared a post with me from the Loyal Order of the Ribbon group where someone was sharing their Hyatt only ribbons, and the Hyatt homeowners one was on there. But I only gave that to people this year. I gave it to our roommates and like a couple of my friends or whatever that were around. But other than that, this was a stranger. As far as I know, I don't know this person. So I only was giving them out on the Hyatt smoking deck on Saturday. And I was asking, I was like, well, you can have this, but only if you're staying at the because I don't have that many left because they're from last year. So I'm like, that has to be a smoking deck person. It has to be, right?
I am collecting all my ribbons. I intend to one day, when, I don't know, maybe in 5 years, but I will sew them all together, and I want to make like a giant flag, banner, or whatever of everything I've collected. But I'm also a person who does not want to collect ribbons for ribbon's sake. I am only collecting them from photo shoots and group meetups that I go to. I don't want a random ribbon. I want a ribbon that means something to me.
Yeah, and the same with me. Like, because I only got 4 ribbons, I think. I got 3 from Daniel, and I got 1 from Tara. And I was like, okay, that's it. Last year, when I was going to go get a beer at that outside area at the Hilton, they were like, oh, here, like, take them. They were handing out ribbons. And I'm like, no, silence brand. Okay, like, I don't need that.
Also, I've always, because I stay in the Hyatt, I hear the commotion and I go outside. I've always seen the revealing of the ribbons. So anyone who's not staying at the Hyatt, there is a time on, I think it's Sunday afternoon, where people in, I guess it's Grand Order of the Ribbon, they release the ribbons and they just go up multiple floors and they drop them down.
I saw it this year for the first time.
Of ribbons, and it's something to see. It's like late afternoon Sunday in the Hyatt if you ever want to. I'm sure they have a scheduled time.
Yeah, I think it's in the app. A lot of their big things are in the app because it's so popular now, even as an unofficial. But I pretty much quit collecting ribbons after Thursday night. After my cocktail group meetup, everybody's wanting to give me ribbons.
You're just like, no, thank you. No, don't ribbon me.
Don't ribbon me.
I'm like, it's just too much work. I get like 20 deep, and it's like I got this thing just waving around. And now the Drunken Dragon Hotel did send a Drunken Dragon Hotel badge that I was keeping. So that allowed me to sort of like double, because the ones that I appreciated getting but did not speak to me, or that were like the big oversized ribbon, went on the back badge. And then like the ones that were from like my good friends, or the ones that I thought were like really cool, they went on my main badge. So that allowed me to like double up. But yeah, there was a couple of times where I would give them out and somebody'd be like, oh, do you want? I'm like, oh, no, thanks. I've reached my limit. make sure you give it to like somebody who is going to love it as much as you love making it.
This year, I only put a couple on my badge because last year, again, I said it got out of control. I was like tying it in knots, but this year I only kind of did like a couple.
I had 4 on my badge all weekend, and the rest of them I put on when I got home.
I have a stack like this thick still in my bag.
Is there not like a standard size for those? You know, like it seems
there
like whenever...
is.
So
there is.
Well, so the Dragon Con badge is thinner than the average convention badge. So most of your ribbon sites are going to default to the wider size.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the Dragon Con badge is the smaller, then a lot of people, they make a bulk order for like all the cons they go to. And so they do the wide one that fits most of the badges.
That's why I always suggest ordering ribbons from my buddy Chuck. I think his company is Fandomaniacs. He will always make sure that your ribbons are the proper size for a Dragon Con badge. I feel like I'm doing an ad. I am not paid to do this ad.
I have a Chuck ad as well tonight to do. If you were in the Marriott Friday night at about 5:30, you might have seen a random wedding on the first floor of the Marriott.
Oh, that was Thursday. That was Thursday.
No, it was Friday, wasn't it?
No,
Thursday?
It was Thursday. Remember?
Well, that's because Wednesday is also a day. That's right.
I remember why I didn't go.
But yeah, Chuck made these glasses for the wedding con.
Nice.
So it's the wedding con.
I have 2 more like Dragon Con being Dragon Con things. One is actually like more an attendee thing, but someone who's on Reddit did an unofficial challenge hunt that allowed teams to participate, which I thought was really fun because usually the challenge things are more like you go to find a quest and it's like a 1-person thing. And it sounds like it was really well organized and it went really well, and they'll be doing it again next year. So I'm going to keep an eye out because I missed the Reddit post where they said they were doing it this year, but they use a website or an app or something called Thrillify to run it, but it sounded really fun. And all the people in the comments who were saying they participated said they had a blast. And it was just like a fun little extra thing. I don't usually have time to do things like that if it's like by myself, but if I could get a fucking team together, hell yeah. If I'm not the only person having to like quest for these things, that's different. The last thing for this section before we get into some more personal stuff. I'm not even sure this is the exact place for this whole like Dragon Con, the good Dragon Con being Dragon. It is good Dragon Con being Dragon Con stuff, but let's get this out of the way because it has to be talked about because everybody's talking about it. The quote, artist, unquote, who was removed from Artist Alley in the vendor hall for slinging AI slop. The TLDR. And I've read a bunch of threads and posts and articles on Reddit, on threads, on websites about this. Okay. I am well versed in this situation. The TLDR is that this person used a fake portfolio. I believe he used someone else's, maybe his girlfriend's actual art to get accepted into Artist Alley, not the general vendor room, guys, Artist Alley. But then the prints and or whatever else he was selling turned out to be either mostly or possibly even all AI slop. Yes, guys, Dragon Con does have an anti-AI art, big time quotes around art there, clause in their agreement. Definitely for Artist Alley, but I've heard tell they also have it for the general vendor area too. When the person running the AI slop booth was asked to leave, he refused and was eventually escorted out by the police because of this. Huge kudos to Dragon Con for handling this situation. I've seen some people complaining that it didn't happen until the last day of the convention. I honestly don't know if it happened Sunday or Monday, because that was one thing I couldn't find exact information on, like when they actually removed him. And I get that being frustrating, but the problem is like they had to receive a complaint and then actually investigate it before they could summarily remove this jerk. And because he did submit an actual portfolio, it wasn't super simple for them to just be like, oh, well, we have a complaint, we're going to go remove him, right? They have to go look at what he's got. They have to like review what he submitted in his portfolio. So yeah, like they had to receive a complaint, actually investigate it before they could summarily remove this jerk. And I'm certain it wasn't the only issue. Like the vendor / Artist Alley volunteers, just a reminder, we're having to deal with all weekend. Point is, they got it done and didn't just let it sit or ignore the complaint. So snaps for Dragon Con for taking care of that. And also snaps to them for actually having a clause in their, for sure, Artist Alley. But like I said, I've heard tell it's also in their vendor room agreement that you aren't allowed to sell AI prints at all, I think.
Yeah, but I've been seeing a lot of people arguing about what AI art means or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter. Dragon Con says no, it's no. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Well, and also,
you
it's
can have
against
your debate online or whatever, but Dragon Con's rule is no. So it's no.
And also it's against the rules to submit a fake portfolio for Artist Alley.
Well, I saw something that said that you could purchase the prints, but they weren't there on site until that day. I think this was on Monday. So like people were coming up and basically buying things in advance. And like the thing is that they knew how many orders they had and that they can do like a quick print of like the AI stuff.
As someone who knows
and
a lot
that's
of people
really
in Artist Alley that have to deal with printing their own shit and bringing it to con and risking it getting damaged at con. Mad.
You're right, Daniel. People were paying ahead of time. So like if you were one of those people who paid for this person's shit ahead of time and did not get what you paid for, do a charge back on your credit card. At this point, that's probably the only way you're going to get your money back, because the person, before they made all of their like social media private, because they did do that, but before they made all the social media private, they were like commenting like, ha ha ha, we just made so much money. But like they were just being assholes too. And also, they refused to leave when Dragon Con came and was like, you're out, you got to leave. They refused to leave, and Dragon Con had to get the cops involved. Like, dude.
I feel like it's always been a battle, because now the AI art thing really brings it forward. But back in the day, man, there was booth people selling other people's art.
Oh, yeah. That's like always been
printing their own stuff. Yeah. It's literally been like a thing. I mean, let's face it, AI art is just other people's art mishmashed together, right? I mean, in the end, it had to get it all from somewhere. But it's interesting to see, because I think that was one of the things that was like always kind of contentious, because it wasn't protected back then. I had friends that were really good artists, and their stuff were winding up on many people's booths, and they didn't do crap about it. I mean, I guess not to completely blame Dragon Con, is that there's no way to really like prove that. As opposed to like AI art, you can look at it and look, there's 6 fingers on one hand and 4 on the other. It's AI.
Yeah, I think that the problem with like stealing other people's art has always been an issue. But the thing is, like, all you can do is report it, right? Like that's all you can do and prove that it's yours. Like I have several friends who are artists who are constantly having to report shit on like Redbubble and stuff, because people are stealing their shit and having it printed on stuff on Redbubble. And every time I see one of my artist friends posting like, oh my God, this asshole on Redbubble or T-Fury or whatever it was stole my art, like, yes, I will be one of those people who will immediately go report it. But that's the problem. People have to report it. And I think there was less of that in the long time past, but it's become more common now, I think, for people to say like, wait a minute, that's someone else's shit and I'm gonna notify them about it, and hopefully that continues. So anyway, okay, so that's out of the way. If anybody has questions about what happened with the AI guy, I don't know, man, just be careful how you search for it, because I stumbled upon some video today where the guy was like, oh my God, anti-commerce Dragon Con removes AI artist, and I was like, excuse me, what? Anti-commerce,
like he's taking a booth spot from an actual artist.
Exactly. The TLDR is, I don't know, like maybe don't submit a fake portfolio and then also sell AI shit, which is against Dragon Con rules. Snaps. Thank you, Dragon Con, for doing what you did. Okay,
Agreed.
Let's get into some personal stuff. We'll each do pros and cons. Ashley, let's go with you first. Your main Dragon Con pros and cons. You didn't really talk about it too much earlier. Yeah. You had some badge line snafus and stuff, but what are your Dragon Con pros and cons for 2025?
Well, okay, I'm just going to put it out there. I had a bad Dragon Con, but it was my fault. I have problems sleeping at Dragon Con. Like, it's a big issue for me. And it built up. And then Saturday, we were buying at the Hilton, these cans of martini drinks, and I assumed they were like White Claws until like my third one in within an hour, and then I looked at the percentage. So the rest of my Dragon Con was spent in bed. Pretty much Saturday.
Well, just Saturday, right?
Complete white. Well, Sunday I was so low energy, like barely active at your party. I was just miserable.
Our party.
Yeah. But I feel bad because I didn't like mingle or anything. I just kind of sat in bed because I was just like, So yeah, half my Dragon Con was ruined. My fault, totally my fault. I should have checked what I was drinking. So
and just
happened.
To be clear, this wasn't like people were feeding you bad stuff. It was you just bought something.
I assumed they were like White Claws. I did not even think to check the percentages on them until it was late. Yeah, my fault. What was the question again?
Dragon Con pros and cons.
Pros and cons.
You had a badge line snafu too, but
okay,
I know you also had good things happen.
Okay, so like I don't want to lambast them for the badge line thing because I think it's just like more of a volume thing, and this one particular volunteer maybe because we got in line at a very long point in the line where we had to cross the street and wrap around a building, and then the lineup started getting shorter, right? And so they were like, okay, we don't need to have this big thing anymore. So what we're going to do is let the people along this part of the street, we're just going to let them, instead of having them go up and around the building like everyone else has done, and we're just sitting there watching, we're just going to let them go in front of everyone else who has been wrapped around the building to, like just get rid of that part of the line. And it's like, well, they're behind us. Why are they going now? And so they did that, but then that also caused such a big long backup that they had to reinstall the line in that spot again, because now there was a huge backup because we had to wait for them all to clear into the area. So they had to get everyone from one side of the street, and they waited for the lights to change, and then they had everyone on the one side of the street run across the street to the other side of the street to refill the area that they had just cleared out of people who were in line after us but got to go ahead of us. So that sucked. That was really frustrating. But I mean, again, I think that's just poor judgment on one volunteer's thought. But yeah, that was the lineup fiasco I dealt with.
What were your pros? I know you have some pros. Like, I know you had some good times.
My other big complaint, oh my God. So
we're still going with cons.
Well, here's the thing. Like, this is, again, probably not Dragon Con's fault. It's just everything I wanted to do was at the same time on Friday. And then, like, the rest of my Dragon Con was looking for stuff to do. And I'm just, like, frustrated because I only got to do 2 of, like, 5 things I wanted to do because they were all at the same time on Friday. So my big costumes for the weekend were Final Fantasy 14, drink.
Happily
Expedition 33, which this wasn't even my costume for that. This was my casual costume. I had another actual costume from a character in the game, and Baldur's Gate. And they had the Final Fantasy photo shoot and the Baldur's Gate photo shoot at the exact same time. And then like 2-3 hours later was the Expedition 33 photo shoot. So it's like, great, I am that's getting into one and then trying to change in the, like, run back to the hotel, change into another costume, and then come back out.
That has nothing to do with Dragon Con. That's almost entirely the people who are running the photo shoots all applying for a Friday photo shoot is what I would guess. Like, because it's rare, like, unless they apply for slots that are already taken, you'll get the slot you want. And
yeah, I mean, like, that's what I said. It sucks. It sucks that all these RPG video games were all at the same time. I don't know. I did notice there seems to be a lot more video game photo shoots than there used to be. Maybe it's just video games are just that popular now. So that sucked. But I did get to the Expedition 33 photo shoot. But then at night, we have the Sprout meetup for Final Fantasy 14. But the other big guest was Jason Charles Miller. I hope I got that name right. He sings a lot of the music in Final Fantasy. And he was performing at the exact same time as that meetup. He had 2 slots, and the other slot was at midnight on Sunday. So I missed both of them. Yay. So I got to go to 2 things when there was only 5 things on my list of must-go-tos. No one's fault, but it sucked. And then I had my Saturday episode, so my Dragon Con was not so
my
great.
Saturday episode.
But my con was I had to wear this today because I was killing myself laughing. It's such an easy costume. I'm sure that's why everyone was wearing it Thursday and Friday for the photo shoot. But like so many people, like Saturday, Sunday, no one was wearing it.
They were everywhere. Really? Because I'm not kidding you. Every single day of the con, I could not walk like 20 fucking feet without seeing a baguette person.
Yeah.
And that's what they are now.
I saw the most people on Thursday and Friday because it's just such an easy costume and no one wants to dress up on Thursday that big unless it's a bunny suit. And I just was like scrolling through the Facebook and just seeing everyone be like, what's with all these French people? Why are the mimes out here? And I'm just like, ha ha ha, you just watch movies. I play video games. So I mean, that was a highlight for me because we were hanging out in the Pulse bar Thursday night when my group was just like all in this outfit. And Keith, he hasn't even played he doesn't know anything about it. I just bought him the costume to wear. It's $30 on Amazon. And just like yelling at people in French. There was like a community of everyone who walked by who was wearing it. And then we'd like socialize and like hang out and then we'd take photos with everyone. That's, like the fun community aspect of Dragon Con. And it was a highlight of just everyone wearing it together. We all knew. And then all the non-video game people were confused. But yeah, okay. So that was pretty much it because Saturday and Sunday were a wash for me.
Okay, so Daniel, we'll go with you next. What were your Dragon Con pros and cons, personal pros and cons?
So cons, the Doctor Who ball had a different DJ this year. Usually DJ Black Sunshine. He was not there this year. And the vibe to me just wasn't as good. It was a different music mix, not as much like Britpop and alternative. They put in a little bit more disco and just like straight pop. And everybody was having a good time. So it's not like the party was a bust. It just wasn't, it didn't speak to me as much much, which was a bit of a bummer because the Who Ball is my big end of con event. And then I felt like there were more panel moderator issues this year. Like I went to one panel where like the moderator clearly had no idea what was going on. There was a slideshow that was only for one of the panelists. He went through all of them in like 2 minutes and then was surprised when he got to the end. And then I was on a science panel where the moderator was from a different field of science than what the panel was about and kept wanting to ask questions about that field and not the topic field. And usually the moderators are always pretty good at Dragon Con. Usually it's, if you're going to have a bust, it's going to be with like a weird panelist. So those were my only 2 real cons, but had a lot of pros because it's Dragon Con and it's my favorite week of the year. Like I loved my 2 cocktail group meetups. On Wednesday, we just threw together an unofficial meetup at the Hyatt bar and hung out with about 10 to 12 people, including Tara, for like hours on end, which was always nice and a great way to sort of ease in. And then our big Thursday meetup was great. It's the most people I think we've ever had. I think there was like 48 or 49 people. You only have like 1 ribbon left from the meetup.
Both of the cocktail things, even though I was only there for brief amounts of time, both of them were really fun. Everybody was super freaking nice, like 10 out of 10. Met some new people, really had a good time.
Blair Crimmins was great. Saw him Friday night, I think, Saturday night. The late night stuff always blurs because of, since it's after midnight, what day actually is it? But Blair Crimmins is an Atlanta institution and seeing him play was super cool. And then I went and did a whole lot of stuff at the Cortland this year, which instead of just complaining about how I don't want to walk to the Cortland, I did the walk and had some really fun panels down there.
Manny, what about you? Dragon Con pros and cons.
So the cons, the lack of spatial awareness.
All right, hold on. Everybody raise your drinks, honestly. We got to raise our drinks so that I can get like a good picture. Cheers to that.
Cheers to the lack of spatial awareness. For the love of God, if you're walking forward, look behind you before you fucking stop. And then don't get weird when people start trying to walk around you.
No, if you're walking forward in a crowd of people, you can't stop.
You can't.
You have to like veer out of the way.
Look, I will give
the no photo shoots and the habit trails extend to any trail.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Looking at you, big apparatus camera guy. Yes, you stop fucking doing that. I will say that when I was at the dealer's room, I was like, okay, I get it. There's a lot of people you're trying to stop to look at something, but don't stop in the middle of the aisle. This is equivalent of when you're at Walmart and the person walks away from their cart and it's right in the center of the aisle and you cannot go around it in any way, one way or another. Okay, I get it. Just don't do that. That was like the only real con, I guess I can say, that I didn't like about it. And again, I will say this, okay, because I'm not a fan of taking a shit on someone all the time. I did not really come across the camera apparatus guy, nor did he get in my way this year. Okay. But again, I'm not saying he didn't get in anyone else's way. I'm just saying that I don't understand why selfie sticks are banned, but this fucker can walk around with a huge fucking apparatus. Okay. I don't get it. I'm not saying it's his fault.
The thing is, I sent you a picture of this person on Thursday night, and then you sent me, you took a picture or video.
Yeah, I took
of
a picture, a video where I zoomed in on him. I was like, dude, come on.
It's the same person.
It's the same guy. It's one guy. I thought it was like multiple people, but apparently it's the same guy.
And I guess you could make the argument that there are big costumes that get in the way and stuff too, but I don't know. I don't think it's the same.
Look, I'm just still butthurt from the last 2 years of having to walk in front of this guy's camera, and then he gives me a look like, oh, how can you? I'm like, bro, there's 2,000 people fucking behind me. You want us to just run you over? Would you prefer that? So the lack of spatial awareness was the only thing. But let me just preface or end it. I'll get to the pros in a minute, but let me just end the bad stuff. I talk a lot of shit and I get very aggravated about stupid things, but I'm going to say this. This was the year where I kind of stopped and was like, you know what, Manny, maybe you should just not give a fuck and just have a good time. Are you in a rush to go somewhere? You know what I'm saying? Is this guy stopping you, inconveniencing you? So you're using these 1,000 people behind you to start a war because you're mad about something, because you're butthurt about something else? Is there something else going on in your life and you're just looking to let out aggression? Because where was I going? Nowhere. Was I in a rush? No. I'm just looking for a reason to complain about something. So I'm just using this camera apparatus guy as a scapegoat where it's like, you know what? maybe I need to just chill out and just have a good time, you know, and just relax.
I kind of want to take that picture that I sent you and put a goat. Not that he looks like a goat. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, literal scapegoat. Yeah. I will say this though, like the lack of spatial awareness and the people stopping in front of you, or like just again, like there's always those people who are like, oh, we're on the sky bridge, we're gonna somehow like stop and take a picture. No, fucking stop, because like I am trying to go somewhere. Yeah. 90% of the time, I am trying to get somewhere in a timely manner. I leave way in advance. Like if I have a panel at 1:00, I am leaving my room at like 12:35 if it's the Westin, and I'm leaving my room at like 12:40 if it's at the Marriott. Actually, no, that's not even true. 12:30 if it's the Westin, 12:35 if it's the Marriott.
For me, I don't have any place to go. What am I really bitching about? It's like I'm just using everyone else to start a war with something where it's like has nothing to do with me. It's like, I'm okay. Did I die? You know, like, no, it's fine. Okay, so I had to wait an extra 30 seconds to go around. What the fuck is the problem, dude? Like, take your blood pressure medication and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but don't stop in front of people. Don't stop in front of people. Like that.
Yes,
it was really bad this year. I will say that it was really fucking bad this year. Just saying.
Yeah, like if I ever have words with the person, I'm gonna be like, my friend, just move aside. There's people walking behind, and if you do not move aside, do not give me or any of the other 2,000 people looks when we walk in front of your shot, because you're lucky that I didn't drop my pants when I was walking in front of your shot. Okay, so just consider yourself lucky, take it as a lesson, and just move the hell out of the way. I don't know why people line up anymore at the Marriott, because that was the place people would have costumes and they would kind of hug the walls to get pictures taken of them and all that kind of stuff, and it's too crowded in there for that. So I don't know. That was the only con. Of course, let me just go on a rant for a minute here about the other problem I had. Okay, and this is going to be, again,
I like how you're like, that was the only con, but wait, there's more.
Hold on a second, there's more. Wait, there's more. And this one is extremely dumb. Okay, but I was talking about it with Jen earlier, so it's like I want to talk about it because I'm still upset about it. So if you, and this is dumb, this would affect me and Daniel, it wouldn't affect you guys, but when you go to the bathroom downstairs in one of the Marriott, I don't remember which, I was drunk, but like the urinals stick out from the wall about 3 feet and there's no dividers between it. Just because I can pee anywhere does not mean that I want to pee anywhere. And that really fucking aggravated me for some stupid reason. And it's stuck in my head the whole week because I'm weird. But
because there's no dividers, you mean?
There's no dividers, and it's like, why do you have to design something like that? I went to an amphitheater one time where literally the place to like the urinal was like a trough, and it's like, okay, I get it. Guys can pee anywhere. I get it. Okay, that's great. I don't do that. Okay, I'm like a cat where I have to bury it afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't want that.
I know a lot of femme presenting people are like, I want my privacy or whatever, but like growing up with 2 younger sisters, like I literally don't have any problem peeing in front of somebody. I know if they're not comfortable with it, obviously I'm not going to do it, but like as long as they're not looking straight at my
and that's different.
the thing between my legs, I'm like, whatever, I'll pee. I don't care.
So
if it's femme presenting people, if it's a dude, yeah, obviously don't. But I don't know. It doesn't bother me.
I will say this: if I'm complaining about that, then we're actually doing pretty good this year, right? Like I'm kind of like stretching here to like find something to like complain about, to where it's like, bro,
you can also just tell us your pros.
Okay, so my pros obviously was your party, right? That's what I go for. That's the like exciting stuff, right? For me, you know. The genderqueer high fantasy was really interesting. I thought that was really cool. I think that was the first panel that I went to of yours. Like, not to, like, you know, like I don't know. I don't remember when the last panel that I've gone to, but it was cool to like see that and kind of get that perspective on everything, right? Because you know, I have 4 kids. One of them is non-binary. The other 2 are trans. So there's a lot of this stuff that I'm not aware of and I do not know about. So it was kind of interesting to go and like hear these things and all this stuff, which I thought was really cool. It was informative, you know, which I thought was awesome. Pros was I was able to get into dealer room within like 10 minutes because I went at a great time. It seemed like everything fell into place with everything I was doing, whereas like I got my badge, no line. I parked in the parking lot every single time and paid less than what I was paying before when I was parking at the one that's next to the Sheridan or whatever. So a lot of good things like fell into place to where I was like, okay, perfect. My last pro on this is kind of random, right? So every time that I go to Dragon Con, I always wind up getting into a conversation with a homeless person or a drunk person because I'll go outside and smoke, right? When I'm by myself, I'll go outside, I'll have a beer and I'll just kind of smoke and just kind of hang out. And somebody always comes up to you and asks for money, especially if it's at night and all this stuff. And I met this one one guy, his name was Johnny, and he just wanted a bus ticket. He didn't make any qualms. He's like, you can walk me to the bus place right now and just buy me a ticket. That is all I am looking for. So I was like, okay, it was way too far for me. It was like $23. I gave him $40. But the conversation that I had with him was extremely encouraging, is what it was. And I think that sometimes, in particular for people like me, I complain about stupid shit like Camera Guy and Urinal. You kind of fall outside of like what's like the real perspective of life. So every time I have gone, for some reason, it's been kind of like a thing now to where I've talked to somebody like this, and they really help put life back into perspective for me. And I always walk out of Dragon Con feeling like good and kind of recentered. And it's always because of these conversations that I have with not cosplayers, not people that are into the same thing that I'm into, but somebody who is outside of the norm, not in my same situation. And matter of fact, in the complete opposite, dire situation, that always helps me to kind of like recenter. And they always really come off as like just people that just got dealt a bad hand. They're always extremely nice. I've never had an issue with anything like that. Not that I would recommend anybody talking to somebody they don't know at 2 or 3 in the morning outside of a hotel, but for me personally, so that was like my pro, honestly. And it happened this year too, which was great, is that I walked away with like a different visor on, you know, where I'm like, well, you know what? Shit isn't as bad or as worth complaining about as I make it out to be.
Well, here I go. Hold on. I got to crack open a White Claw, pour it into the remnants of my vodka soda, which makes it a Fight Claw.
I do want to sneak in here. I was going off on the negatives. I did want to say the Sprout Social is still the highlight for the past like 3 years running at Dragon Con. The Final Fantasy XIV community is strong at Dragon Con, and we just love it.
Man.
And the party got extended an hour this year, which was awesome.
Nice.
So I just want to say that is still the highlight. And I had a big cosplay group for that, and it was awesome. And they gave out lots of ribbons. They do a big swag distribution system. I kind of glossed over it with my
you didn't really say much.
Saturday fuck up drinking nonsense. But also, I want to say Saturday I was just hanging out at the Hilton. The Hilton's awesome now, guys.
It is.
It got
so
really
good
awesome.
now.
It's the place to hang out.
And see, like I had a better time last year at the Hyatt. And my problem with the Hilton is that all of my panels are in the Marriott, and I usually want to go back to the room to just kind of not like veg or anything, but like I want to go back to the room for like a little bit. And maybe if I had to change it, whatever. So I've never had the time to like make it all the way to the Hilton on the days that I have fucking 3 panels a day. So I hate that I don't get to really experience the Hilton. I don't know, maybe next year. But okay, so here's mine. I'm going to go through my cons real quick. None of them are really like that bad, but I am still pissed about the nasty Hyatt upcharges and parking costs. Parking being $60 a night is still fucking dumb. The per night charge for parade view, especially for our rooms that have the stupid fucking carport thing in the way so you can't even see the goddamn parade, really, going from $30 a night last year to $50 a night this year, which I didn't know until I checked in. So I had to eat that entire extra cost rather than at least being able to split it with my roommates. Because I'm not going to be like, oh, hey guys, by the way, you've already paid me all this money for the room, but like, oops, you owe me another like X amount of dollars per person because they're charging me an extra $20 fucking a night for us to be in a parade view room. From the room I was in this year, the carport covers the whole thing. From the room that's next to mine, the room that's actually like my room that Ashley is in, like you can barely see like part of it because the carport covers like half of your balcony.
Yeah,
so anyway,
you need to be higher up.
Yeah, but I don't want to be higher up.
On is not good for seeing.
And we talked about this year. Honestly, call it a low floor charge. I would be better with them calling it a low floor charge for us because it sure as hell is not a fucking parade view. Anyway, I can't believe at least they warned us about the early check-in fee, but I still can't believe they were charging for early check-in. It's nonsense. The rooms are fucking empty. We should not be charged for an early check-in. They keep the rooms empty for Dragon Con. Anyway, crowds, another year of avoiding the sky bridges on my part as much as possible, but that wasn't really shocking. Once again, I feel like the Friday crowds were like the worst, which is weird because you'd think Saturday would be. I don't know. Friday felt way worse to me. Oh, and Wednesday, oh my God, like could not even move in the atrium level of the Marriott when we went there to like meet up with people and like see the countdown. Ashley and I were just like,
the countdown was a mess. I don't think I'm going to go back to that because that was holy
it was
shit.
A lot.
What is this, Saturday?
Yeah, I couldn't believe
2019? What?
It was worse than, other than like the bunny hutch nonsense on Thursday night. I don't think I saw the atrium level, the pulse bar area of the Marriott that bad other than the countdown. And then this is like post-con stuff, and it's not actually like a personal thing because I didn't participate in any photo shoots. But again, this is not about Dragon Con itself, but my God, the immediate asks for group photo shoot pictures is ridiculous this year. I'm seeing it on Facebook. I'm seeing it on Reddit. Give these fucking unpaid photographers a bit of a break, for fuck's sake. If you did a photo shoot on Sunday of Dragon Con, you're not getting your photos Wednesday, 3 days later. Lots of pros though. I had great panels, even the ones I wasn't sure about, like going into them. I was like, oh God, how am I gonna, like we did a Night of the Seven Kingdoms panel last year. How am I gonna make this like different and new this year? How am I gonna talk about Jon Snow for an hour?
I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want it. I was also glad I was able to do a panel with the American Sci-Fi Fantasy Media Track because I'm pretty sure I hadn't done one with them since 2016, I think, because that was when they moved all the Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones stuff to High Fantasy for 2017. And I'm pretty sure I haven't done an ASFFM track panel since then. So I was glad I was able to do that. I also met Deborah Ann Wool, who like I know from a bunch of things. Obviously she's in Daredevil. She does D&D stuff too. But like I went to meet her in my Sookie costume, which was really just a Merlot's True Blood costume. But like because I'm blonde and I put my hair in a ponytail, it's like I'm Sookie, right? She was super, super sweet. Like I don't usually make special trips to the Walk of Fame at all to meet people, but having gotten into True Blood kind of more recently, like within the past couple of years, and having the Merlot's costume, again, that as a blonde, I could easily make into a Sookie costume by like putting my hair in a ponytail. I just had to meet her in it. And she saw me, she was like, Sookie, immediately knew who I was because I'm blonde, I guess. But also at 5 foot 8.5 inches tall, I rarely feel short next to women, but wow, I felt short next to her.
Wasn't Charlene Harris here this year?
Mm-hmm.
She was too, yeah. And I read all the books,
so
but
the
like
True Blood was in force a little bit.
all of her panels were like at the same time as my stuff, which I swear to God happens every year. And again, like I said earlier, the Secret Food Court being open all weekend, but all hail the flaky, not flaky strawberry brie sconut. I had several different kinds. All of them were good. All the sconuts were good, but that strawberry brie one was like heaven in a fucking sconut right there. If you are from Atlanta, especially if you have like easy access to downtown, go to Flaky Not Flaky and get the strawberry brie sconut. I wanted to bring one of them home when I left on Monday, but when I went to Flaky Not Flaky Monday morning, they didn't have any strawberry brie ones left. I was very sad about it. They only had plain strawberry, and I was like, nope, I only want strawberry brie. We got two last like subject things to talk about. Memorable cosplays. Manny, did you see, I know you didn't cosplay yourself. Well, you did a little bit Sunday night, but did you see any memorable cosplays?
No, I'll tell you why. It's because I've just kind of stopped paying attention to those kind of things. The only memorable cosplay that I can think of that I saw was my friend Kate, who showed up, and she was wearing her Destiny costume that I had seen in pictures from like years ago, but I never got to see it in person. So I had gotten into a conversation with them for a good bit. So it was cool to see that, you know, because I was like, oh, cool. I got to see the build and how they did it and stuff like that. Aside from that, I can't think of any. You know, there's so many good ones that it's like, I don't know. The cat's kind of out of the bag when it comes to cosplay. So it's like, it's hard to pick out one unless you're doing something extremely random and like funny. Like my favorite cosplayers have always been like the meme cosplayers because it's something that's just more random. But no, I don't think there was anything that was super that stuck out to me or anything.
I feel like nothing will ever top in 2021 the guy who did the shipping container barge that got stuck in the Suez Canal.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I laughed so hard when they had problematic ships on the
Oh man. So Daniel, what about you? Any memorable cosplays that you saw or did? I mean, I know you don't cosplay either. So any memorable ones that you saw?
So the Baguette crew, like seeing all of them
the
people.
Baguette crew.
And then on Saturday night in the atrium level, there was a duo who were Pan Am stewardesses with a working snack cart. Like they had snacks, they had chilled little mini cans. You could have it for free. They had a little QR code if you wanted to send them like a donation. They saved my cocktail because the cocktail I made for that night wasn't very good. So they had Sprite. I was able to pour that in and make it somewhat more palatable. So that was really cool. And then I saw the Malort Pope, and she had like two priests. So they were like the Malort conclave.
I'm from Chicago. I understand this.
That was so cool. And so apparently there were dueling Malort popes. We have like the Pope in the Hyatt and the Pope in the Marriott, just like it was in the olden days. But yeah, so I really love the Malort Pope and the Malort priest that were with him. Super cool.
Ashley, what about you?
I mean, I'm always impressed when I see the Warhammer 40k people because it's like, holy shit, how are you walking in that? It's just like, I remember seeing some guy, I'm just like, all right, you want to do this? At the Expedition 33 photo shoot, the really cool thing was, I wasn't expecting, was all the gestural like puppets, and they brought like dolls that are like this big that are like gestural babies, and it was like, wow, I wasn't expecting it. I thought it was really cool. But other than that, we did go to the Fallout photo shoot just because we were hanging out at the Hilton, because it's fun to hang out at the Hilton now, and we happened to be there when the Fallout shoot was going on, and that was really just cool to watch because it is still huge. It was like took up the entire left side of the photo shoot area. And that was really fun. But yeah, in terms of like something that really stood out as unique, maybe I'm jaded for Dragon Con. I didn't see anything that was like, holy shit, I need to take a photo of that.
Yeah.
Patrick asks, was it the mimes, Ashley?
No, it's the gestrels, the little paintbrush people. They made like dolls, 3-foot dolls of gestrels, and they're paintbrush people. I don't know how else to explain it.
I feel like I missed so many of these cosplays. So I walked by, maybe in one of the Skybridge, I was walking and couldn't stop to take a picture, but the Quiznos people.
Oh, yeah,
Or
I didn't even see them. Yeah.
I only saw them in passing, but then
continue though.
One of my friends posted a picture of the Quiznos things, and I was like, you can get a picture of them. They are creepy as fuck. The fact that somebody did the Quiznos things from those awful commercials, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up creepy Quiznos commercials. Gosh. Oh, there was also on, I think it was Bunny Hutch night, there was the girl that was in like a giant cake. I don't know what it was, but it was fucking amazing. Another one I saw in passing that I couldn't take I feel like all the good ones I really saw were things I could not take a picture of because I was walking by them. But there was a girl who did half Glinda, half Elphaba. So she was like half green and half Glinda. Yeah. Oh my God. It was amazing. If I hadn't seen her in person, the first picture I actually saw of her that popped up online, I would have thought it was fake. Like I would have thought it was AI. And there were subsequent pictures since then too that made it very, like they were actually at the Marriott. Because the first picture, I don't know what the background was, but it was like maybe the Sheraton or something. It was this weird background. But like if I hadn't seen her in person, I would have looked at that picture and been like, that's not real. But she was fucking amazing. And so yeah, I feel like all the good costumes that I saw, I could not get pictures of. But it was fun seeing all the baguette people. I had fun being Sookie because it was really fucking comfortable. And because the show is so long off the air, people, when they did see me, were like, Sookie, yay. So it was fun like to have people excited because the show's been off the air for so long that you don't see like Sookie Stackhouse cosplayers much anymore. And then Dean and Carlos and I had a lot of fun doing the Californians from SNL, which was my secret cosplay that I talked about in our pre-Dragon Con webcast. We had fun doing that, and we're definitely bringing it back next year. But because Dean and I are going to be both on the East Coast at that point, we're going to bring more props. We have plans for the Californians next year. Ashley, what was the other one that you were?
Oh, I thought of more costumes. These were friends of friends, so I didn't know them personally, but we kind of hung out in the same circle. They were doing Horny Jail on a Bunny Hutch night. I went over to see them, and it was kind of amazing. And then props to everyone who got their photo taken at Horny Jail. It's like two guys, they're in good shape, not wearing a lot of clothes, and they had a giant kind of jail set up, and it was kind of close to where the Bunny Hutch was, and they were just kind of pulling people in and be like, hey, who wants a photo? And like that's the kind of thing like Tara and I last year we did the green slime thing, and it was a very similar situation where it's like people were taking photos into the green slime, and that kind of embodies Dragon Con for me because it's like group participation and they're just trying to create joy for everyone.
I saw that there were a couple of like paintings, like somebody was set up like the Van Gogh portrait, an American Gothic. They built the painting background and they were like cosplaying as Van Gogh or the couple, and I thought they were really cool because they were just like right there together. So I'm assuming they planned it, that they just didn't be like, oh, we're setting up our own art gallery by a happenstance. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
Any last thoughts on DragonCon 2025 before we get into a little bit of 2026 planning?
Oh, shit, I just remembered another thing.
Yes.
Sorry. One last thing.
Take a drink for Ashley remembering yet another thing.
And it's for a photo shoot. So there you go. Expedition 33 photo shoot. There were a bunch of people doing Expedition 60. If you're playing the game, you get little tidbits of the former expeditions. And this one group, Expedition 60, was the group of buff people being naked because muscles are more powerful than anything else. So of course, a pile of buff dudes in Speedos came and were like, we're Expedition 60. And that was amazing. So props to those guys.
That just like brings me back to the days when I used to play Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO online.
Yeah.
And well, my significant other and I at the time had a guild that was called the No Pants Guild. The thing about this game is like your clothes are armor essentially, but we were the No Pants Guild. So we would run around with no pants. And like it didn't matter that we had less armor because we were the No Pants Guild.
The sheer power of their muscles defeated further than any other expedition.
Any other last 2025 things before we talk about a little bit of 2026 stuff? No? Yeah, we're good. Okay. DragonCon 2026 planning. Yes, really. Tickets are currently on sale for $110. The prices go up sometime soon. Usually we do our Hangover episodes, not this weekend, but the second weekend after DragonCon.
Hence, I'm still at DragonCon. I'm still recovering there. Still at DragonCon.
Yeah, exactly. I think they go up in price, not this coming week, but the following week. But that is just a guess because that's when they usually. Okay, so this person is saying on the 14th. That makes sense. Or what's the 14th is a Sunday, and usually they do it on a weekday. So it might be like the 15th, 16th. But I don't know if you want your $110 DragonCon pass, get it this next week or so. Marriott Hunger Games, they're sometime in early to mid-October. They're usually on a Wednesday. Yeah, they're usually on a Wednesday starting at 10 a.m. Definitely keep an eye on the DragonCon social media and website for the exact date. As far as I know, they have not announced it yet. I want to say the Weston Hunger Games, I saw that theirs were going to be October 28th. That's what I saw. I cannot guarantee that that's the exact date, but that's what I saw. And then Daniel, you had a thing about what is next year at DragonCon, Daniel?
It's the 40th DragonCon. Now, how you want to count that as an annual or anniversary is between you and your God, but it will be the 40th DragonCon, and we can just leave it at that.
I will say, so like with Ice and Fire Con, technically our 10th Ice and Fire Con, if we counted the year, because we had to do virtual cons in 2020 and 2021. So counting those years, our 10th actual Ice and Fire Con was 2022. But we did a 10th anniversary instead, which was our first one was 2013. So our 10th anniversary con was 2023. Mm-hmm. So like there's different ways you can think of it. So they're doing what I'm guessing they're doing is the 40th event, which would be, it sounds like it's a year before, but no, it is actually their 40th event.
Yeah. It's the 40th DragonCon, 40th annual DragonCon.
Yeah.
39th anniversary though, people. So
that's what I'm saying. Like it's the 40th annual event. If you're calling it an anniversary, you can argue that the terminology isn't correct, but who cares? DragonCon is saying it is the 40th one.
Yeah.
And they already have a ribbon, apparently. Or I don't know if it's for real that they're doing this.
No, they are. They showed it. People, of course, because it's DragonCon, loved it. And so they said they're going to do it. It's going to be like some sort of like challenge ribbon. They don't know what the challenge is going to be because hell, they just thought about this earlier today. So, but yeah, like they're going to have like something that you can do to get like the 40th DragonCon ribbon.
Closing question. Daniel, you provided our question, so you get to ask it.
What's something that you wanted to do this year or just in DragonCon in general that you didn't get to do, but you want to do next year? And so since I knew the question, I will start. I really want to do the T-dueling that the alternate history track or alternate and historical fiction track does, mostly because the winner gets a fez. And if you see me at DragonCon, you know that I like a fez and my wife says 3's enough. So if I can't buy a 4th, if I can win a 4th, that's a loophole to extend the fez collection.
What about you, Manny? Anything you haven't done before that you want to do?
Not anything that I haven't done before. Maybe go to a few more panels. Maybe be a little more interactive, and not just like walk around aimlessly and then get sad. But I'm going to pull Jen to come with me next year. So maybe there'll be like more costumes and stuff like that. So that way it'll feel more like an actual Dragon Con, which would be different. But yeah, definitely more like connecting with people, going to like more panels and stuff like that. Not crazy panels. Again, like I was really into like the genderqueer high fantasy. Like I felt like I kind of learned something from it. Stuff like that. Okay, I'm kind of curious about this. This is the kind of stuff I'd like to do. And then maybe next year, I think I'd like to drink a little more next year. Yeah, I want to drink more, but like
cheers to that.
Yeah, I want to day drink. I didn't really day drink this time around, or the past years. So it's like I want to day drink. I want to like drink and then rally up and then drink again.
When the sun's out, water.
No, I get it, Daniel. I'm right there with you.
Oh,
I'm
no,
right there with you. But I'm just saying. Look, don't make me pull you into my madness, and then me and you are going to be day drinking next year.
Live the dream for me, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't day drink this year because I had too many panels later at night that I was worried about being not sober for.
I'm the example of what happens when you day drink. And half my Dragon Con was wrecked this year.
What about you, Ashley? Anything that you missed?
Being sober a bit more, I guess. I mean, honestly, it was just Saturday. Saturday was just drinking the wrong thing, but it like wrecked the rest of my Dragon Con, and it sucked. I look forward to Dragon Con the entire year, and
we're at that age, man, though.
Yeah. So I want to actually, get to more panels. Back in the day, I went to raves. I once went to 3 a.m. raves. I know, but I don't do that anymore. I would like to do that again. I wish that I had the constitution. I am praying for my body to let me go to raves again and also day drink. I just want that to happen. I want to be able to day drink and go to raves. That's all I want.
Either day drink this year or rave. And then like the year after that, we can try to do both.
There was once a time it didn't matter. I could just keep going.
Me and Daniel are going to day drink, right? And then when the rave comes, we'll just wear shirts that say security and go to the rave, and we can just walk around like all like looking for trouble for like shitheads, Maybe we can get into a few fights or something,
I did wear a security shirt to the rave in 2023. Remember? That was the year we did Dragon Con disasters for our room, and I was Hilton security checking everybody's bags when they walked into our room party. That was a good year.
That was a good year for sure.
Yeah, this year was weird. It wasn't bad.
Weird. Yeah,
but
it wasn't bad.
Weird.
It was it was
and I feel like every year I say I'm going to go to more things, like more events and more panels that aren't my own panels. Actually, I haven't talked about this at all. I did go to one panel that was not my own. It was on Friday night, and it was Bad British Sports. My friend Paul was one of the people on it, and it was basically like, these are ridiculous British sports that actually exist. And it was a fun as hell panel. And it was a 10 o'clock panel. So it was the last one of the night. So they were like, oh, it's 11 o'clock, but we can go over because there's nothing in this room after us. But also it was like in this weird, the location of it was where the Brit track is, but like also it was like you go down to that bottom level of the Hilton, and like you get off the escalator, and then like you take a right and you go down this hall, and you can smell Trader Vic's, you can smell like their meat. And I was like, oh my God, this smells so good. So now I'm like distracted by food smells, but then I'm like trying to find this fucking panel room, and we ended up in a hall that was like concrete flooring. It did not look like a place that anyone should be. So I feel like that was a really weird, this is not the panel's fault or the Brit track's fault, or it was just a weird fucking location. And I was like, okay, so this is where we are now. I feel like I'm gonna get murdered. But
I think that's like the Galleria level, like overflow room.
Yeah.
And bad. So like when you're walking by, like you walk past the loading docks, and you can just see like, you're like walking, you expect there to be a wall, and it's like, oh no, this is where like the trucks come in.
But yeah, last year I had 10 p.m. panels on both Friday and Saturday nights. This year I only had one Saturday night, but the one we did Saturday night, despite being a late night panel, was not like a fun one. It wasn't one I felt like I could drink much beforehand. So it kind of like threw off my game a lot. So I think next year I'm just going to kind of put the kibosh, unless we're doing like a worst person in Westeros style panel again, like I'm putting the kibosh on 10 p.m. panels, because I can't start drinking at 11 o'clock at night anymore. I'm too old for this shit. shit. And I also want to be able to like do more things. I want to go to more panels that aren't my panels. But other than that, like I didn't go to the vendor room at all this year. Not that I really care about it all that much.
I'll be honest, I went to the vendor room and we were like, what are we going to buy? Everything was the same from last year. I didn't really see anything.
And that's kind of how it rolls like every year lately. But so we'll see. We'll see what happens next year. And the thing is, like, something might come up between now and then, like closer to Dragon Con next year, where it's like, oh, they're announcing this new thing and this sounds fun and I will want to do it. I would like to get involved in one of like the conquesting things. Like I like the idea of the one that does teams. You know, they're unofficial, but I also didn't like look or find any swag this year. I didn't look for any of it. I was usually too just like distracted or like in a rush to do something, usually panels, like go to my own panels, that I like didn't actually look for any swag. The one day I actually had most of the day free, I was like, I don't want to just stand around at the Pulse or whatever. I wasn't in a costume that was, I don't know, maybe I just need to start cosplaying like I used to back in the day. Like maybe I need to do more cosplay groups. I don't know what it is. There's something missing. There was something missing this year and I feel like I need to find it again, or like I'm going next year, but like if I don't find what was missing this year, I might take a break from Dragon Con after that. We'll see.
Yeah, I understand. I had a few crash out moments for Dragon Con. I definitely had some moments where I was like, I'm not even going to attempt. I'm not going to anything. I'm going to go sit in my car for 10 minutes and just get away from everybody.
Well, and it sucks is like you don't have a room. So like for me, my 10 minutes sitting was like, I'm just going to go back to the room in the Hyatt.
Dude, Manny, just come to our room. We're at the crash room.
I always tell him, like, just meet me in the room, dude. Unless I'm at a panel, like, just come to the room.
I know, but I'm just one of those weird people where I'm like, I don't want to impose. Like, I don't want to be that person.
We are just crashing out the same as you. Like, that's all we're doing. We're just watching Dragon Con TV and, like, maybe getting into cosplay.
You could have sat in the bed with Nami because
we're all used to people walking around in their underwear getting into cosplay at this point. It's just like, oh, it's half naked this person. No, it's just half naked that person. Whatever. I don't care anymore.
All right. Does anybody have any upcoming events that you're going to?
I'm gonna try to go to MegFest this year. Is that the one that's in DC?
Yeah.
It's more video game. I've just been really into video game stuff lately, so I'm just like, well, maybe I should go to that one. It seems popular.
It is. I didn't really feel like it was like it's video game oriented, but it's more like video game music oriented, if that makes sense. And then there's like rooms where you can play video games. I had a bad time at MagFest the one time I went, but it wasn't. Okay. It was a lot of like, so you can't get into like if they're doing a concert, you can't bring drinks in. Oh, like they check everybody's bags. At least that's what they did the year I was there. And I don't remember there being in like any panels really. I mean, there were some, but it wasn't. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying don't go. I'm just saying,
Katsucon was one that I've always wanted to go to too, because it's just like a big cosplaying facility. Like the Gaylord,
and it's at the same. Yeah, the Gaylord. It's at the same place. MagFest is at the same place. I'm pretty sure. If you can get a room at that hotel, which we did have
like a lottery system. So just like whatever. Maybe we'll go. Maybe we won't. I don't know.
I'm saying like go once and try it out. I'm not really the best person to ask about that because the time that I went to MagFest, I was like between meds too. Like I was with the Anime Con that we went to. So it was like every time I go to one of these conventions for one time, it's like it should be fun, but then I have a miserable time because I'm like switching between meds or something. And I'm like, I hate my life. I'm depressed. I want to lay in bed all day. Leave me alone.
This is like the last few years I had a lot of life situations that I didn't want to commit to anything. Now I can try to get back into, like, I used to always go to tons of cons, like almost like 6 a year and stuff. And I'm like, well, now that the situation has happened, maybe I can go back into the con scene. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't really have any desire to go back into like the general con scene either, honestly. Like I am looking into doing Ice and Fire Con again, maybe, fingers crossed, like next fall, but it's gonna be more back to its roots, like a smaller location and not trying to like fit in like 2 panels an hour and stuff. Like if I do Ice and Fire Con again, it's going back to like 2017 at best. I'm done with the extra. I don't have the energy or the time to plan more than that. So we'll see. Obviously, Dragon Con next year. I'm going to New Orleans for Halloween. Really excited about that.
Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, Ashley, let's go to New Orleans for Halloween. Come on. But that's not really an event other than it being New Orleans. But Halloween's on a Friday.
That sounds really awesome.
Halloween's
on Friday? Because
I
remember
Friday
the last Halloween during COVID was on a weekend, and then we were like, so it's like, oh shit, Halloween's finally on a weekend. But so yeah.
Manny, any events?
No. There's no events. The events I'm looking for are the weekend when I'm not working. That's it. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to next weekend where I will not be doing much.
Daniel, what about you? Do you go to any other local Atlanta cons or just Dragon?
So the last couple of years I went to Multiverse, which is like a little tiny baby Dragon Con. Takes place now down in Peachtree City, which is south of the city. It's really cool. It's a lot of the same vibes as Dragon Con, but instead of 75,000 people, there may be like 3,000. So it's a lot more chill of an environment. Don't know if I'll be doing that this year or not, but it's the closest thing that I can get to that Dragon Con experience. But Dragon Con was the first con I ever went to. And so it sort of like ruined me for everything else.
No, I agree. When I was in California, I did Comic-Con every summer. But like now that I'm not living in California, I'm not paying to fly out there. No. Any other last thoughts before we close out? No, we're good. All right. Well, I guess, hold on, guys. Let's do one more cheers. We have not drank enough tonight.
Yes, I have been more awake today than I had. Okay, this was probably my lowest Dragon Con. Just, again, my own fault. Can't sleep, plus Saturday nonsense. But I love Dragon Con. It's like...
Exactly.
I gotta power through. I gotta make my over 40-year-old body get back to it.
Figure out the perfect formula for making it through the weekend. All right, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you again for joining us for Drinkin' Con 2025, The Hangover. We'll be back next year with Drinkin' Con version 10.0. But in the meantime, don't forget to check out
this.
Yes. Well, okay, so wait, it depends. Are we talking about the 10th one or the 10th? We started in 2017. So yeah, 17, 18, 19, 20, because we did it in 20. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, we will be back next year with Drinkin' Con version 10.0. But in the meantime, don't forget to check out the Geek Saga Entertainment Patreon for early access to my panel recordings and other perks. And also follow at a Geek Saga on social media so that you don't miss other upcoming Geek Saga live streams, podcast episodes, and more.